January 26, 1945. In the frozen forests of eastern France, an entire company of American soldiers is in full retreat. 6 German panzer tanks and more than 250 infantry are bearing down on them. But on top of a burning, explosive-filled tank destroyer, one man decides to turn and fight, alone. He was 19 years old, stood just 5'5", and had been rejected by the Marines, Navy, and Army paratroopers for being underweight. This is the story of how Audie Murphy became a one-man army and a legend. But the battle for his life would continue long after the war was over. Audie Leon Murphy was born into a life of hardship in rural Hunt County, Texas, on June 20th, 1925. He was one of 12 children in a family of poor sharecroppers, and from a young age, life was a constant struggle. His father drifted in and out of their lives and eventually abandoned the family for good, leaving Audie's mother, Josie, to raise the kids on her own. To help his family get by, Audie dropped out of school in the 5th grade. He picked cotton for $1 a day and took any odd job he could find. He also became an exceptional marksman, not for sport, but out of pure necessity. His skill with a hunting rifle was often the only thing that put food on the table. This deadly accuracy, learned in the fields of Texas, would soon serve him on the battlefields of Europe. Tragedy struck when Audie was just a teenager. His mother, the anchor of his life, passed away when he was 16. Heartbroken, he watched as his younger siblings were sent to an orphanage or to live with relatives. Alone and orphaned, Audie Murphy was the definition of an underdog. Undersized, impoverished, and carrying the weight of a tough childhood. He dreamed of a different life, inspired by the war stories of a local veteran. He knew one day he had to join the military. When news of the attack on Pearl Harbor reached Texas in December 1941, it lit a fire in young Audie. He saw the military not just as an escape, but as his duty. He was determined to enlist and fight for his country. The problem? The military didn't see a hero. They saw a kid. Standing at just 5 feet 5 inches and weighing around 110 pounds, he was turned away by every branch he approached. The Marines said he was too short. The Navy and the Army paratroopers said he was too underweight for the rigors of combat. For most people, that would have been the end of it. But for Audie Murphy, it was just another obstacle to mow down. Convinced this was his purpose, his older sister helped him fudge his birth certificate, adding a year to his age so he could meet the minimum requirement. Armed with this new document, he tried again. Finally, on June 30th, 1942, the U.S. Army took a chance on him. They assigned him to the infantry, the one branch that reluctantly accepted the small, baby-faced kid from Texas. He had finally crossed the threshold, leaving his difficult past behind for a future that was anything but certain. Private Murphy was sent to the 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division, a unit that would become his family and the stage for his incredible acts of bravery. His journey through World War II was a relentless tour of Europe's most brutal campaigns. He first saw action during the Allied invasion of Sicily in July 1943. From there, he fought his way up the Italian peninsula, hitting the bloody beaches at Salerno and enduring the grueling Battle of Anzio. It didn't take long for everyone to realize Murphy was no ordinary soldier. He was a natural leader and a brilliant tactician, with an almost supernatural gift for small unit combat. Where others saw chaos, he saw angles and opportunities. As the war dragged on and casualties mounted, many of his superior officers were killed or wounded. Murphy's skills and sheer guts saw him rise through the ranks with astonishing speed. He was promoted to sergeant, then staff sergeant, constantly proving his worth under fire. During one ambush along the Volturno River, a German machine gun killed one of his men. Murphy and the other survivor didn't hesitate. They used hand grenades and machine guns to take out 5 of the German attackers. These early battles forged him into a hardened veteran before he'd even turned 20. He fought through the liberation of Rome and then joined the invasion of southern France in August 1944. It was here that his legend really started to take shape. Long before the act that would earn him the Medal of Honor, Audie Murphy was already known for his almost reckless bravery. His comrades saw him do things that were hard to believe. During the invasion of southern France, his platoon was ambushed in a vineyard. When a machine gun was separated from its squad, Murphy grabbed it himself and returned fire, killing 2 German soldiers and wounding another. In a heartbreaking turn, 2 German soldiers pretended to surrender, only to shoot and kill Murphy's best friend. Enraged, Murphy advanced on their position alone, killing 6, wounding 2, and capturing the remaining 11. For this, he was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. His courage never let up. Weeks later, he earned his first Silver Star for taking out another German machine gun post, killing 4 and wounding 3. He received his first Purple Heart after taking shrapnel in his heel from a mortar blast. But injuries never kept him down for long. He consistently put his men's safety before his own. His leadership was so impressive that the army offered him a battlefield commission to second lieutenant, promoting him from an enlisted man to an officer. He initially refused, not wanting to leave his men, but eventually accepted the rank. By January 1945, Murphy was in command of Company B. The fighting had been so fierce that all of the company's other officers had been killed. Of the original 120 enlisted men, only 18 and Murphy were left. He had earned nearly every combat award for valor available, and he still wasn't 20 years old. Stories of courage like this are a powerful reminder of what people are capable of in the most difficult of times. If you find this story compelling, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more incredible historical accounts. The climax of Audie Murphy's military career came on January 26, 1945, near the French village of Holtzwihr. It was a bitterly cold day in the Colmar Pocket, a German-held region in eastern France. Murphy and the handful of men left in his company were dug in at the edge of a forest when the Germans launched a massive counterattack. 6 Panzer tanks and around 250 German infantrymen emerged from the fog, charging directly at the Americans. Outnumbered and outgunned, Murphy knew his men didn't stand a chance. He ordered them to pull back deeper into the woods to regroup, but he stayed behind. Alone at his forward command post, he used his field telephone to call in artillery strikes, trying to slow the German assault. Just behind him, an American M10 tank destroyer took a direct hit and burst into flames. Its crew scrambled out, knowing it could explode at any second. The German tanks were now practically on top of him. With his carbine empty and the enemy closing in, Murphy made a decision that defied all logic and would cement his place in history. He climbed onto the burning, abandoned tank destroyer. Exposed to enemy fire from 3 sides, he grabbed the vehicle's .50 caliber machine gun, swiveled it toward the advancing infantry, and opened fire. For the next hour, Audie Murphy fought a war all by himself. As flames licked at the hull of the tank destroyer, which was loaded with fuel and ammunition, he single-handedly held off the German attack. The .50 cal roared, cutting down wave after wave of enemy soldiers. German troops got within 10 yards of him, only to be mowed down by his relentless fire. He was wounded in the leg, but just ignored the pain and kept fighting. His unbelievable stand completely broke the momentum of the German assault. Without infantry support, the tanks began to retreat. He had single-handedly killed or wounded an estimated 50 enemy soldiers, saving his company from being wiped out. Only when he ran out of ammunition did he stop. Bleeding from his leg, he climbed off the still-burning tank and limped back to his men. Refusing medical attention, he immediately organized a counterattack and led his company forward to drive the enemy from the field. It was an act of conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity, involving risk of life above and beyond the call of duty. For this single action, Audie Murphy was awarded the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest award for valor. On June 2, 1945, near Salzburg, Austria, Lieutenant General Alexander Patch officially presented First Lieutenant Audie Murphy with the Medal of Honor. By the end of the war, he was celebrated as America's most decorated soldier of World War II, having earned 33 US medals and decorations, including awards from France and Belgium. When he returned home, He was greeted as a national hero. His boyish face was on the cover of Life magazine, and parades were held in his honor. He was shy, unassuming, and uncomfortable with all the attention, but his life had been changed forever. The famous actor James Cagney saw his photo and, impressed by his story and good looks, convinced him to come to Hollywood and give acting a try. Murphy's transition to civilian life was a rough one. He arrived in Hollywood with, in his own words, no talent. He struggled at first, but eventually found his footing. He published his best-selling autobiography, To Hell and Back, in 1949. In 1955, he starred as himself in the movie adaptation, which became a massive success and was Universal's highest-grossing film until Jaws in 1975. He would go on to star in more than 40 films, becoming a popular movie star of the 1950s. But beneath the fame and heroism, Audie Murphy was fighting another, more private war. The 400 days he spent on the front lines had left deep, invisible scars. He suffered from what was then called battle fatigue, but we now know as post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. The war followed him for the rest of his life. He was plagued by insomnia, depression, and terrifying nightmares. For years, he slept with a loaded pistol under his pillow. He became dependent on prescribed sleeping pills, and when he recognized the danger of his addiction, he made another courageous stand. He locked himself in a motel room for a week and forced himself through a painful withdrawal, beating the addiction all on his own. Crucially, Murphy broke the silence surrounding veterans' mental health. In an era when those struggles were hidden away in shame, he spoke openly about his own battles with PTSD. He became a powerful advocate, publicly calling on the US government to provide better mental health care for returning veterans. He knew the emotional cost of war was just as real as the physical one. While he continued to serve his country in the Texas National Guard, eventually reaching the rank of major, his later life was complicated by financial troubles and legal issues tied to his trauma. On May 28, 1971, tragedy struck one last time. While on a business trip, the private plane he was a passenger in crashed into a mountain near Roanoke, Virginia, during foggy weather. Audie Murphy was killed at the age of 45. Audie Murphy was buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery, where his grave is one of the most visited sites, second only to President John F. Kennedy's. A memorial now stands on the very spot in Holtzwihr, France, where he made his one-man stand, erected by the local citizens to ensure his courage is never forgotten. The inscription reads, in part, "Passerby, respect this memorial and do not forget that these soldiers died so that you can live free." The story of Audie Murphy is more than just a tale of a war hero. It's the story of a boy who overcame poverty and tragedy, a soldier who faced impossible odds with unmatched bravery, and a man who fought his hidden demons with the same courage he showed on the battlefield. He was a one-man army, but he was also a vulnerable human who used his platform to fight for those who came after him. He remains a legend, not just for what he did on that burning tank destroyer, but for his lifelong refusal to give an inch of ground, whether to an enemy army or to the silent casualties of war. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories from history. We'll see you next time.